Shalom and welcome to this week's installation of a Bisselle Torah. The Torah reading this week is called Bahar, which means on the mount. What mountain are we talking about? None other than Sinai. This is the place where the children of Israel, Bnei Israel, met God. This is the place where Moses ascended the mountain and came down with the law and then explicated it to the people. But what is really key about this Torah reading is that there is so much attention devoted to the idea of Shmittah. Now, you may not be familiar with the word, but it's a very important word and a very important concept in our faith. Hasn't been for many thousands of years because we basically consider the idea of Shmittah to be irrelevant. What is Shmittah? Shmittah is basically a Sabbath, Shabbat, but not the seventh day. Shmittah meaning the seventh year. For 6 years you shall work the land, on the seventh year you shall allow it to lie fallow. Nothing should grow on it. Live off the land rather than plow, sow, reap, and then for the seventh year allow the world, the earth, to be able to recompose itself, to be able to re-energize itself so that it can continue to yield food for the coming year. This is at least two-sided of an issue. Number one, who in their right mind would observe the Shmittah? Nobody. You want to make as much money as possible. A farmer particularly raises crops, and if they miss a year of growth, of sustenance for their own self and their own family, they're going to be impoverished by leaving the land just by itself for a year. Not totally impoverished, because things are still going to grow and they'll be able to eat the fruit and the vegetables that grow of their own accord. But to not sow the land is to allow the land to not produce its regular produce. So who in their right mind would do such a thing? And that's why this mitzvah has largely gone unobserved for so many centuries. It's only now we're finding out in the 21st century how valuable of an idea this is. You continue to infect, you continue to poison the land year after year after year, and soon it no longer has the yield that it once had, because the land needs time to recoup. We've only learned this out of experience, but for thousands of years we didn't know any better. But God knows better. The prescience that is presented by the Torah is utterly magnificent, because God knows what we do not. And secondly, there's another segment to this equation too that also needs to be considered. What is the purpose of life? Oftentimes we forget because we get so consumed with making money, doing our job, getting accolades, pat on the back, more money in our account, more things for our family. We get so consumed by consumerism that we forget why we're alive, the purpose of our being. So there is also a secondary aspect to this idea of the Shmittah that allows us to reclaim our humanity, that we take 1 year every 7 years to basically to become reacquainted with the reason that we were born into this world. And why is it that the entire Torah portion basically is given over to this idea of Shmittah? Precisely because humanity is so reluctant to observe it. Because of the reasons cited. We need to take back and reclaim the idea that God knows better than we do. We also need to give back to the earth that which we've learned in a very painful way about the carbon footprint that we're leaving on this earth as we read this Torah reading. And at the same time reclaim our own humanity in the process of reclaiming the land and our soul. Shabbat Shalom.